So birch trees are a tiny bit more complicated than your average tree, but they look beautiful, especially on really dark backgrounds, and they're well worth learning how to do. So you're going to start off, like all tree trunks, by painting in the shape using your darkest color, which is going to be a black-brown mixture. Make sure that your paint is thick and that your tree is a little bit wider at the bottom than it is at the top. This first layer needs to be totally dry before you can put on the texture, so either leave it for a day or hit it with a hairdryer. So in nature, birch bark grows in horizontal strips, and there's always these black spots on the trunk, and that's what we're going to try to capture with our texture. We want to make a dull grayish brown color, so mix some umber with white if you have some. And using a small flat brush, you're going to pull paint horizontally. If you can curve your strokes a little bit, it'll look more like a cylinder. But what's more important is that there's variety in your strokes and that you're leaving some dark gaps visible. Don't worry about getting right to the edge of the tree either. That's not important in this step. You can hit with the corner of your brush sometimes instead of the flat just to mix it up. And make sure there's enough paint on your brush that it doesn't look fuzzy when you put it down. If you're right-handed, it's usually easier to pull from left to right, so don't be afraid to flip your canvas around when you're doing the other side. So once you're done with that, you're going to mix up a blue-gray color. So take that same brown and white and mix a little bit of your blue sky color into it. Then we're going to scatter some brush strokes in the shadow side of the tree, so pulling from the edge of the tree towards the center. Next, you're going to mix up a color that's not 100% white, but is pretty close. Put a tiny little bit of that brown in it. I would switch to a smaller flat brush for this. We're now going to paint in the highlights of the trunk. So this goes on the side that the light's going to hit. You're going to touch right on the very edge if you can and pull towards the center, not all the way to the center, with this very bright color. Again, scatter it. Don't put it everywhere. Don't cover everything up. You want your brush strokes to be different thicknesses, and some go a little further in than others. You don't want it to look like there's a black line on your highlight side, so make sure that you cover most of the dark base color there. At the end, I usually switch to a small round brush just to go in and touch up, add a little bit more pure white here and there to add some variety, maybe a little bit more of that blue into the shadow side. And you can always add some more black back in if you accidentally cover too much of it up. The branches of birch trees are usually pretty small, so you can use black or the same color you used for your base coat. Use a thin round brush and get a lot of water on it so that the paint will flow really easily. And you can add some thin branches to your birch tree. Don't highlight the branches, just leave them black. Okay, so a grayish brown texture, a blue-gray shadow color, and an almost white highlight. Give it a try and you'll see what kind of beautiful birch trees you can make.